morning, and welcome to All People's Church, Unitarian Universalist. My name is Alex Reynolds. My pronouns are they, them, and I am your co-celebrant this morning. Our minister, Lori King-Nelson, uses she, they pronouns and is in the pulpit. All People's Church is more than a place to gather on Sundays. It is a community, a spiritual home where you may develop and deepen your gifts. We gather to feed our minds and souls that we may each become blessings to our family, to our friends, and to the larger world around us. We understand that church is not something outside us, but something between us. What is holy here is our relationship with each other as we come together and support each other in our spiritual development. We especially welcome those of you who are visiting today. If you haven't yet done so, please sign in at the visitors table by the front door, where you can be placed on our mailing list to receive weekly emails and the monthly newsletter. Before we continue on to worship, there are some announcements. The kitchen is in need of family-sized tea bags, either Lipton or Great Value brand, just anything that will make a nice large pot of tea. So feel free to give those donations to the kitchen. The special session of the state legislature currently is in session. It is working on a redistricting plan that is looking to dilute the vote of minority communities. The Texas House's Redistricting Committee will hold a public hearing tomorrow at 5 p.m. at the Rosebud Theater on the University of Texas at Arlington campus. If you are available, please consider showing up to the hearing. There's also a rally at 3:30 p.m. preceding the hearing. Information is available on the APC Facebook page. The Results Regional Conference is happening here at All People's Church on Saturday, August 9th. Results is an advocacy movement working through our elected representatives to put an end to poverty. The free day-long conference will include keynote speakers, workshops, and lunch, and is open to all. For more information, available in the foyer is a detailed flyer with the conference schedule and participants. And now, please settle comfortably for our musical prelude.
Thank you, Misha. This past week, I had several people reach out to me to talk about how wonderful it is that we have someone so talented and gifted that brings us this beautiful music every week. And I just had to agree with them. We are so fortunate. Thank you so much. I also want to thank Alex for using our pronouns this morning. Greatly appreciated. And it's another way that we can touch each other with respect. Let us call ourselves into a spirit of worship together. Our opening words come from the Yajur Veda. The one who loves all intensely begins perceiving in all living beings a part of himself. He becomes a lover of all, a part and parcel of the universal joy. He flows with the stream of happiness and is enriched by each soul.
We now invite you to rise in body or spirit for the chalice lighting, opening hymn, and spoken affirmation. Our chalice lighting words were written by Albert Schweitzer. At times, our own light goes out and is rekindled by the spark from another person. Each of us has cause to think with deep gratitude of those who have lighted the flame within us. Please join us now in singing our hymn of the month for July, number 207, Earth Was Given as a Garden. Please join in our affirmation. The words are in the order of service and also projected on the screens. Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest for truth is our sacrament, and service is our prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, to serve others in community, to the end that all souls shall grow into harmony with creation. Thus do we covenant with one another. And young at heart are now invited to come forward for our time for all ages here at the front of the chancel.
We have lots of young at heart and no young ones this morning, which is fine. I know that we've been talking about our affirmation and helping the young people.
We do have one young one.
Oh, there's one young one. Okay. We've been talking, just to bring anyone up to speed, we've been talking about certain words in our affirmation and helping our young people to understand what those mean in relation to what we do here in this congregation and in Unitarian Universalism. We have already gone through doctrine and sacrament, and today we're on service. Hey, good morning. And if you don't feel comfortable coming down, that's fine. That's fine. So I was letting the others know that we're talking about what it means to be in service with one another. That service is our prayer. So somebody throw something out here for me. What does it mean to you to have service as your prayer? Thank you. Thank you. Does anybody else have something? What does it mean for you to have service as your prayer? What he said. Thank you, Lori. When back in the days when I was in the Disciples of Christ, we talked about how we prayed with our feet and what that means in reality and in real life. What do you think praying with your feet means? Thank you. Protesting, walking the walk, doing something for another person. It's an action thing. And that is what we mean by service is our prayer. That means we go out into the world and we find where we are needed, where the gifts and talents we have can be most useful to make this world a better place. So, do you have any things that you do as service? Do you have pets and take care of them? That's a service. It is. That's a real gift. Oh. Oh, okay. I have pets too. Probably not enough time to talk about all of them, but I'll share them. See, they know. But I have a pig, and his name is Chris P. Bacon. And so he was going to, when he was a baby, he was being sold at the flea market, and somebody was going to grow him up and eat him. And we just couldn't have that. So now all 450 pounds of him lives with me. But see, your dog, Rocky, relies on you. and loves you, and you take care of Rocky, right? You feed him, and you give him water, and you give him loves and little scratches behind the ear. That's a real service, and it's important. Today we're talking about the power of touch and how important it is to have contact with all other parts of life in this world. So now we know what service is our prayer is. And we're going to read the affirmation one more time. Can we put it up on the screen so that our young people can thank you so much. So it's on the screen if you want to read along. Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest for truth is our sacrament, and service is our prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, to serve others in community, to the end that all souls shall grow into harmony with creation. Thus we do covenant with one another. Thank you for coming down. Maybe next time you visit, you can bring a picture of Rocky. I would love to see him. Oh, okay. A drawing would be wonderful, and I'll bring you a drawing of my pig. Okay? All right, y'all have a wonderful week, and we're going to sing the young people out now. Thank you for coming down.
All right, the offering we take each Sunday is an opportunity to recommit to this place and to these people. It is as much a ritual as singing together, lighting our chalice, or reciting our unison affirmation. It is a reminder of that form of love we call generosity. It is how we show that we believe it is important to worship together and to help our community and to say yes to the values of our faith. It is our custom to share the undesignated cash offerings that are collected each week. We do this on a quarterly basis for a nonprofit or charitable organization. Our current Share the Plate recipient is Eastside Community Assistance, also known as Eastside Ministries. If you prefer, donations can be made using the QR code that is on the back of your order of service. The offering will now be accepted. Will the ushers please come forward?
Thank you. I think my voice is kind of coming and going again. I don't know what's going on with the air that makes me like this, but Maybe it's just age, who knows. Our reading this morning, in a well-known Jataka tale, the Buddha, as a bodhisattva in a previous lifetime, is said to have looked down from the edge of a cliff to see a starving tigress and her cubs. Gazing at the tigress's sunken eyes and emaciated belly, along with how she brawled at her cubs as if they were strange to her, the Buddha realized that she would soon need to eat her cubs to survive. According to one telling of this story, seeing the tigress called the Buddha to be shaken with compassion, and he thought to himself, "This body is a constant source of suffering, and the wise man rejoices at expending his body for the benefit of another. Therefore, I will cast myself down into the precipice, and with my body I will save the tigress from killing her young ones, and likewise save the young ones from being devoured by their mother." The Buddha then gave his life to save the tiger cubs and ease the suffering of the hungry tigress. This story is sometimes told to illustrate the unfathomable compassion of the Buddha. But a more nuanced understanding may be that it was, in fact, the Buddha's great fortune to come upon the hungry tigress, as the tigress provided an opportunity for him to ease the suffering of others. Will you join us in body or spirit in our middle hymn, number 1012 in the teal hymnal, "When I Am Frightened"? Service, we pause to honor and to give time and attention to those things most important to us. We gather here for healing and for peace in our hearts and in the world, and honor our time together with the shared stories and news from the congregation. Each week there's a journal outside the entrance to the sanctuary where you can write a message of memory or hope. We honor these messages by lighting 3 candles here next to our chalice. Also, at any time during our service, you are welcome to come forward and light a candle in our meditation center here at the side of our chancel. There are no messages in our book of memory and hope this morning. I'm hoping that what you are carrying in your heart, you can put out there during this time. Our meditation for this morning, I would like you to begin by taking 3 deep breaths, allowing for a very long out breath, not forcing it, just allowing a longer than usual out breath, allowing your body to settle, closing your eyes either fully or partially, being aware of your body in this room, on the chair, on the cushion, being aware of the physicalness of your body and feeling sensations in your body, on the body. Sensations on the surface of your body. Feeling your back resting against the chair. Noticing your legs. Feeling your feet on the floor. Feeling the bend of your knees. Feeling those contact points between your body and the surface that is supporting you right now. Allowing your awareness to rest carefully and kindly on those places, on those contact points. Feeling a measure of gratitude for the support that you are receiving right now from those surfaces. Feeling a measure of gratitude for your body, that it allows you to sit and lay and stand. Feeling the surface of your body, your skin, and all the places where you have some sensation. Maybe feeling your hair on the back of your neck. Maybe your clothes against your skin. Maybe feeling your hand resting on your lap or your leg. Now, quietly, listen for the breathing of the person near you. Hear them. Sense their presence and their warmth. Being aware of their presence near you. Share a deep breath in this space. And settle into a shared moment of silent awareness. Let us now pause for a few moments of quiet meditation to hold and uplift the sorrows and celebration, both spoken and unspoken, among us. And then Misha will lift our hearts with music. just beautiful. Thank you. I received an email last month in response to my June newsletter article on the importance of touch. I want to relay a very small segment of this without revealing the source, because that is their story to tell, should they wish. These words touched me beyond measure and brought me immediately to the times in my life when I felt loved and cared for after periods of emotional or physical isolation. This person stated that they and their partner were leaving for an event, and the partner asked for help changing a bandage. As they finished up, the partner said they had forgotten how much they had missed the element of human touch until that moment. The partner held their hand all evening, and this person said, "There is more love in those hands than I have ever known." There is more love in those hands than I have ever known. You'd better believe that I teared up over those words. Touch has the ability to heal our emotional and physical wounds. It can soothe us to sleep, reassure us when we're afraid, comfort us when we're alone, and console us when we grieve. When my youngest was little, he would ask me to give him a face rub, meaning he wanted me to rub his face the way I do for our cats and dogs. Sometimes he fell asleep during his face rub. Other times he would wiggle out of my arms after only a few seconds, having filled his emotional tank quickly. Another son would toddle up and say, "I want to hold you." And there we would sit for what seemed like both an eternity and a fraction of a second. On the one hand, it just feels so good to be connected and comforted. On the other hand, it's about so much more. We want to be touched. We want to be seen and recognized. We want to be reminded that we are real and that we matter. We want to feel connected to someone and something beyond ourselves. I want a face rub. I've heard it 1,000,000 times. I don't think my children are the only ones that ask for touch. I think all of us in some way want our faces rubbed or to hold someone, even if we don't like being rubbed or held. You see, it's about more than physical touch. It's about the touch that makes us well. Years ago, I heard a story about a physician who described his ritual of touching patients during his examinations. Pulling down the eyelids, looking at the tongue, tapping the chest, feeling the abdomen, listening to the heart. He would do this every time he saw his patients. Somehow I changed their pronouns in the middle of this. It really was a man, so I'm going to use he and push through it. He described a patient who was on his deathbed. There was nothing more that could be done for them. An examination was not medically necessary. He went to see this patient on what would be his last day on earth. When the patient saw his doctor, he began to unbutton his pajama shirt, wanting to be seen, touched, acknowledged, wanting to be reminded that he was real and that he mattered, wanting to be made well, even though he could not be cured. That's the power of touch. Touch has the power to make well. My friend Shelby reminded me yesterday that it's the same thing as what the hemorrhaging woman in the Bible knew. Jairus wanted Jesus to come and lay hands on his daughter, to touch her and heal her. The hemorrhaging woman touched Jesus' cloak, seeking healing by touching the hem of his clothing. And it's not just Christian stories of healing touch. World religions are full of stories about mystics touching others and being touched by others. Healers touched the diseased skin of lepers, blind eyes, deaf ears, and mute tongues. Their touch made a difference. Skin is cleansed, eyes see, ears hear, tongues speak. Were they literally healed? I don't know. I say that I don't know because I've never witnessed it either way. But I believe in the power of touch and the way it can heal us in a great many ways, even if those ways are not medically healing. So whether it is Mark recounting mass healings in a marketplace, or Luke telling of the corpse that sat up and began to speak, or the Buddha healing a woman grieving the loss of her child, what it is at the core is someone showing up in the lives of these folks saying, the divine in me sees the divine in you. You matter. You are loved, and I honor and value your life. It would be easy to hear these stories as magical miracles that happen in religious scripture, but never in our lives. And it would be easy to believe that it's only Jesus or Buddha or all the mystics who have the divine touch. But here's what I wonder. What if those stories about divine touch, the touch that makes us well, are happening all the time today? What if that divine touch is not unique or exclusive to religion? What if you and I are also carriers of that divine touch? What if that divine touch is a means of healing for ourselves and for others? What if we are to open ourselves to being made well by the divine touch of others? What if we are to touch others and the world in ways that affirm, give life, and make well? Now, before I go on, I want to address and be clear about something. Much of what we hear today about touch focuses on violations and violence. There is a divine touch that has the power to affirm and give life, to heal and make well. But there is also a touch that has the power to destroy and take life. It's the touch that violates the body, does violence to the soul, and crushes the human spirit. It's the touch of abuse, neglect, violence, poverty, racism. That is not the divine touch. And I hope you won't confuse that with what I'm saying today. And if your life is being touched in that way, or if you are touching someone else's life in that way, whether physically, emotionally, or spiritually, call me. Call a friend. Call your doctor, a counselor. Get some help. Every time we reach out with this divine touch, regardless of where or how it happens, regardless of who it happens to, the divine touch is about opening hearts. It never closes hearts. It's about enlarging and healing the soul. It never diminishes or injures another. It's about making us whole and making us well. That divine touch happens in 1,000 different ways. It's not just one hand touching another hand, though it could be. The divine touch happens with expressions, gestures, smiles. We touch each other with our attitudes. The divine touch happens every time we reach out to another with kindness and compassion, when we offer hospitality and welcome, when we forgive. The divine touch is felt every time we offer another love, hope, encouragement, affirmation. It's felt when we listen, offer our time, or create space and place for another in our lives. I remember my youngest being an acolyte when he was 8 or 9 years old, standing next to a fellow minister. I remember being concerned about the flaming torch in his hand, as he's autistic. With the flame moving around in very dramatic circles, the minister looked down at my son, smiled, and put his arm around his little shoulder and told him he was a light in the world that would never dim. My son was seen, heard, and encouraged. He mattered, and he knew that through the gentle touch of hands and words. When I was in the 4th grade, my dad spent a year in Vietnam. I say my dad, and my sister is out here too. It's her dad too. I'll share him. But our dad spent a year in Vietnam. He told me how he had felt so alone, more alone than he could ever remember. He missed the hugs from his kids. He missed being connected to and grounded by his family. One morning he woke to find a small box on his doorstep, a plain brown box sealed up with twine, his name written on it in pencil. I don't remember if he ever told me what was in the mystery box, but for my father, I don't think it mattered. The fact that someone had seen his pain and loneliness and reached out to touch him with this gesture meant everything. It meant everything. There's a retired minister that's been my mentor and friend for years. I call him almost every month, at least once. Sometimes I have a question or something I want to discuss with him. Other times I just want to hear his voice and feel his presence. I can't count the number of times and ways I have felt the divine touch from him. His touch has healed me and made me well many times. I remember a particular professor in seminary that was kind of the odd duck on the faculty. He didn't talk much, didn't hang out with people. He spent his time in the library reading, and I said, I like that guy. I get him. He touched my life in a way that said, it's okay to be like you are. He touched me by his example, and it made a difference for me. These kinds of things are happening all the time in thousands of different ways. Every one of you could tell stories about someone who touched your life in a way that made a difference. Someone who healed you, opened your eyes to see something new, called you into your better self, gave you courage or confidence, or told you a truth that you didn't want to hear, but you needed to hear. Think about those people that you've known for years. Or maybe you meet them for the first time and you just want to be near them, hoping that whatever this divine energy they have will rub off on you. They carry this presence, this life, this energy that when you're in it and around it, it makes you well. That's the divine touch. And make no mistake, there are people that you have done that for. I know you have had someone say to you, do you remember when you said or did such and such? It really touched me and made a difference. And you probably don't even remember what they're talking about. This divine touch happens in incredibly simple and ordinary ways. It's as simple as rubbing an arm or giving a hug, and as ordinary as a phone call. We might be touched physically, but we can also be touched by a note, a smile, a prayer. We're remembered, recognized, and affirmed, and we're made well. Last week, someone asked me, what in my life needs or wants to be made well? What in me needs to be touched? What do I need to get back in touch with? And what would it take to allow that touch to happen? Those are hard questions for me, possibly because of the boundaries that accompany my profession. But how might you answer these questions? Maybe you need to face a fear, regret, guilt, or a disappointment. Maybe you need to let your guard down. I know that sometimes I feel I need to do that. Maybe you have to believe and learn that you are really worthy of being touched, seen, and recognized. Maybe it means admitting that once in a while we're just not well and we need a divine touch. What would it be like for you to go out into the world today looking for the people, relationships, circumstances that are waiting for and needing that divine touch? What if you are the one to reach out and help someone else be made well, to offer hope and courage and love or a way forward? When we touch, we make a difference. And when we withdraw from or refuse to touch, we make a difference. The poet David White says that to be untouched is to disappear. When we don't get touched, when we're not connected, we disappear. We're lost. And when we refuse to touch another, we impose that lostness and disappearance on them. Engagement and connection are critical to our existence and our relevance. What if today you and I were to look for those places that need to be touched and made well in ourselves and in each other? I don't know what that might accomplish, but I know this. In the story of the hemorrhaging woman, she touches a prophet's cloak. He turns and touches her with his gaze and then says, "Go in peace." Maybe the holiness of the divine touch, when we receive it or offer it to another, is what allows us to go in peace. My wish for you is that you are touched by hands that have more love than you've ever known. May it be so. May it be so. Will you rise in body or spirit and join us in our closing hymn, number 348, Guide My Feet.
closing words are by the Reverend Amy Zucker Morgenstern. When we take fire from our chalice, it does not become less, it becomes more. And so we extinguish our chalice, but we take its light and warmth with us, multiplying their power by all of our lives and sharing it with the world.
Our benediction today is by Cynthia Landrum. We leave this gathered community, but we don't leave our connection, our concerns, or our care for each other. Our service to each other, to the world, and to our faith continues. Until we are together again, friends, be strong, be well, be true, be loving. We invite you to stay for coffee and conversation in the back of the sanctuary in the library. Have a blissful week.